Boys and girls, welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming live from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. Now, folks, some of you were on this broadcast just a few minutes ago when we tried to do it again with our computer. I had a computer analyst look at the computer a little bit earlier, and that's why we're coming on live a little bit later tonight. I'm sorry about that. But those of you that tried to get on here in our chat, I'm very sorry that it did not make it possible to use the computer tonight. We're going to try to get this fixed within the next day or so. Okay, I want to thank Kerry, who has a live YouTube channel talking about computers. Okay, I'll give him recognition all over the place. Okay, Kerry's been a great help already today, and we are going to get this computer fixed one way or the other. However, we're on our telephone tonight, on our device. The first thing I want to talk to you about is earthquakes. Okay, let's go to the earthquakes. Over here in the Volcanic Islands here, right here in the Volcanic Islands, where you see these earthquakes right here. There's been a great number of earthquakes already today here in the Volcanic Islands. Okay, these islands are off the coast of Turkey, but they belong to Greece. They belong to Greece. Folks, the largest earthquake today has been a 5.3 earthquake. A 5.3 earthquake. This earthquake right here. This is that 5.3 earthquake. This is 12 kilometers east-northeast Massaria, Greece. Massaria is an island here in the ocean here. Okay? It's a small island here. All these islands throughout this area are small islands. There have been hundreds of earthquakes. USGS is not reporting them all. These earthquakes have been going on for several days now. Now, why am I specifically talking about this? Because, folks, over near Santorini Island, the island has been evacuated. The Santorini Island has been evacuated. Many people have been spending the nights in their cars because they feared their houses were going to crumble around them. They've been spending the night in their cars fearing that the world was going to come crumbling around them. Okay? Now, I want to talk to you about this. This is very important. Okay? I was going to show you a picture of this on my broadcast software, but that's not necessary right now. Now, I want to report to you what's going on, and this is very important. So those of you that have been watching these earthquakes on our earthquake channel on Messenger, this is just part of it. Dozens of tremors, dozens and dozens of tremors and larger earthquakes have been recorded in the Aegean Sea northeast of Santorini Island on Tuesday. But these earthquakes have been going on for several days. Okay? The largest earthquake that was recorded was a 5.3 earthquake, striking mid-afternoon today. Several days of continuous seismic activity have led some residents to sleep in their cars, afraid to spend the night in their homes in case walls or ceilings would collapse around them. No major damage has yet been reported on the island so far, but emergency management has taken it up and has also declared an evacuation. Emergency measures have been taken as a precaution. Hundreds of people have been queued at a port in the early hours of this morning to board a ferry leaving for the mainland. Everything is closed. No one is working now. The whole island is emptied. An 18-year-old resident told Reuters news agency early this morning before boarding the vessel that the city has closed down. Local media reports around 6,000 people have left Santorini Island by ferry since Sunday. And further, 2,500 to 2,700 passengers will have flown from Santorini to Athens via plane on Monday and today. The carrier Aegean Airlines said that it had added 9 emergency flights to its schedule following a request from the Ministry of Climate Crisis and Civil Protection. In recent days, an estimated 9,000 people in total have fled Santorini. Santorini, again, is a small island in the Aegean Sea off the coast of Turkey. Santorini has a population of only 15,500 people. The island welcomes millions of tourists annually, but bookings this time of year are minimal, so local residents and workers make up a majority of the evacuees. Now, the emergency managers have said, we considered it a better choice to come to the mainland as a precaution. Even the emergency managers have left the island. Kostas Skavaras, who's a tour guide who's lived on Santorini for 18 years, left the island with his wife and children yesterday. Nothing has fallen or anything like that yet, adding that the worst part has been the sound. The most scary part has been the sound of the earth shaking. Okay? He plans to return home when the schools open back up. Schools are scheduled to stay closed on the island until at least Friday. Authorities have also warned people to avoid certain areas of the island and empty their swimming pools. Santorini's mayor, Nikos Zorzos, said the island was prepared for a seismic activity that may last for many weeks. The island must approach it with patience and calm. He added, the plans were in place to build shelters and provide food for the population should larger tremors emerge. On Tuesday morning, this morning, representatives from the government, armed forces, and emergency services met at the Ministry of Climate Crisis and Civil Protection to discuss the situation. The Greece Prime Minister said he will chair a similar meeting tomorrow. Prime Minister Mitsotakis said on Monday that Greece was working to manage very intense geological phenomena. Seismologists consider the recent tremors to be minor, but preventative measures are in place just in case a larger quake occurs. Emergency services have warned residents to leave the areas of Amodi, Armeni, and the old port of Fira due to landslides. The South Aegean Regional Fire Department has been placed on general alert and rescue teams have been dispatched, with crews standing by watch for very large yellow medical tents on the island. They're standing watch by these large yellow medical tents on the island. Concern remains high over the thousands of earthquakes in the region of Greek Cyclades Island. Cyclades is spelled Cyclades. Okay? A lot of earthquakes, hundreds of quakes. Scientists are rapidly analyzing the data to better understand the phenomenon. Most of the strongest quakes are originating from the area around the tiny islet of Andrios, northeast of Santorini, with seismic activity remaining intense in the region. Scientists are on alert not only for Santorini, but Amorgos, Anafi, and Ios. In the event of a larger quake, the main issue is the resistance of buildings, especially in Santorini, due to the peculiarities of the soil. Okay? The peculiarities of the soil. Okay? Now, I want to show you something if I'm going to be allowed to do this. Okay? This is the island of Santorini here. The houses and small apartments are built on the hill. Santorini is a rather small island. But as you can see, the houses and apartments are built on the hill, and they can experience landslides with all the earthquakes that are happening. Okay? People are leaving here in droves. Nearly 9,000 people have already left Santorini. Okay? It's a big deal. Now, something else that you also need to know. Some scientists believe there might be magma down below the surface. All of these islands are old volcanoes. All of these islands are old volcanoes, okay? At any point in time, something could happen, okay? Charlene is saying here in the chat, it is not an ancient city built around an old caldera. Yes, it is, okay? Each of these islands are an old volcano. That is why these islands built up, okay? It's built on an old volcano. Okay, do you guys have any other questions about this? This is a big deal. It's huge. It's huge, guys. As I showed you before, USBS is not doing it justice. These are not the only earthquakes, but those that happened today, and they're not even showing all of the earthquakes from today. In fact, let me get on my other device and see if I can bring up those earthquakes. I should have already done this, but I was hoping we could show this on the computer. Let me bring up my other device here. Just a second here. Oh, you stupid thing. This is what really gripes me. The United States Geological Survey is playing games. Okay? I want to show you this. This is important. Look at all these earthquakes, and yet USGS wants to pan it off as nothing's going on. They showed about 12 earthquakes there on the USGS map, and look at all the earthquakes that are actually here. Let's zoom in here. Okay? 200 plus earthquakes right here. The largest today was a 5.3 earthquake. You tell me if there's not a problem here. This is important. Okay? I believe this is very, very important. And Pickering's here in the chat saying, it's bad my granddaughter's planning to get married in Cyprus if it's safe. I didn't know about earthquakes until your program. Thanks. And that's why we're here. That's exactly why we're here, Ann. Trying to put out the information for everybody. Cream just got in here and just subbed our channel. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Also, when you sub our channel, please, right next to the subscription button, let me bring us back to live here. Right next to our subscription button, there's a notification bell. Click on that notification bell. After you click on the notification bell, there's a drop-down menu of 3 items. Click on the word ALL, all. That should get you notified when we come on the air, but be advised, Google, YouTube does not necessarily notify everybody when we go on the air. Even some of my mods are not notified when we come on the air. It's sad. It's sad. It's very sad. Let's get back to this. Okay, my buddy Demon Catman, who's one of our mods here in the chat, said there's a magma chamber system in the area of Santorini and Colombo volcanoes. Okay, again, these are volcanic islands. These are very much volcanic islands. Let me zoom in here. I want to see if I can show you this. Look at that. This is a volcano. Each and every one of these islands are volcanic formed. Each and every one of them. This is the reason, actually, that I believe that the mayor and the emergency managers around these islands have evacuated Santorini and are evacuating some of the other islands. Okay? With all these earthquakes, there's a reason it's shaking. It's more than just earthquakes. It's more than just earthquakes, guys. It's a lot more than that. Just a second, let me fix this. Cream just gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you very much, Cream, for that. I'm going to give you an email sticker on your... I'm going to give you an email sticker for that super chat. Right there is the email sticker. I'm going to give you a thumbs up for that as well. We appreciate it. We really appreciate it. It means the world to us. We try to keep this program on the air, and YouTube doesn't cooperate. Okay? So we appreciate the super chats. We appreciate all of you donating to our PayPal and also our Venmo locations. And also when you write to our address, by the way, our mailing address here is 104 North Green Street, Box 105. Morganton, Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code here is 28655. Okay? But I want to appreciate I really want you guys to know how much I appreciate your subbing our channel and also contributing to keeping this program on the air. Okay? But this is the biggest story of the day. Okay? I don't believe any other channels are even talking about this, which is very unreal. They should be talking about it. It's very important. With all those earthquakes hitting, there could be, okay, I'm not saying there will be, but there could be a volcanic eruption over there in the Volcanoes Islands, just off the coast, just off the west coast of Turkey. Just off the west coast of Turkey. Let me make this map a little smaller. And there's Turkey right there. There's Turkey right there. Okay? These islands are what they call the Volcanoes Islands. These islands belong to Greece. Even though they're very close to Turkey, they belong to Greece. And I want to show you this. Let's move this over here. Look at all the earthquakes in Greece as well. Okay? There's about 18 earthquakes here in Greece, which is normal. There's 18 earthquakes here on the mainland of Greece, which is normal. Okay? Now, I want to go over just for kicks and giggles here to Italy. Look at all these earthquakes here in Italy. Down here in southern Italy, this is Sicily. Today we don't have any earthquakes that have been reported here in Sicily, but there have been in the past. These earthquakes here in southern Italy are also very important. But look here, central Italy. There's about 29 earthquakes here in central Italy. Most of those earthquakes are 1.2, 1.5, 0.8, which are microquakes, and upwards of 2.5 earthquakes here in central Italy. We are expecting a larger earthquake at any time here. I can't say any day, but it's going to be momentarily. I believe we're going to have another large earthquake here. The last time we had this many earthquakes in Italy, we had an earthquake just off the north coast of Italy right here. Right here, just off the coast. Okay? Look at all these earthquakes here. There's going to be another large earthquake, even possibly a very strong 6.0 larger here in Italy within the coming months. Okay? This is building up. These number of earthquakes here in Italy are building up. Okay? Now, I want to take you also over here to northern Italy and up into Germany and Switzerland here. Look at all these earthquakes in northern Italy. Let me point those out here. For example, that's a 1.0 tremor. Let's go over here. This is a 1.3. This is in France. However, let's go up here. This is Switzerland. This is a 1.6 in Switzerland. Let's go further up here to the north. This is Germany. Ochtendong, Germany. It's a 0.5 microquake. 0.5 microquake. This is a 2.0 minor earthquake. It's just not tremors and microquakes. It's also minor earthquakes here in Germany and France. Okay, these are normal. This is getting to be very normal. Before we would have sporadic earthquakes here in the Alps here. We're still getting sporadic earthquakes here in the Alps, but the seismic activity has pulled north to Germany, Switzerland, and also France. Let's go over here to southern France. This is also a 2.0 earthquake. Right next to it is a 2.3 minor earthquake as well. Let's go over here to northwestern France. This is Brittany, France. Right across the channel to England. Right across the channel from Brittany, France to England. That's a 2.7 earthquake there. This is a 2.5 minor earthquake here. Earthquakes are spreading. Seismic energy is spreading in Europe. Let's go down here to the border area of Spain and France. This is also normal. This is a 2.2 earthquake here. Right here we have a 2.1 and also another 2.2 as well. This is normal along the border region of France and Spain. Let's go over here. Okay, this is also important. There's one earthquake here in southern Spain, right there. That's a 1.8 tremor. Over here in Portugal, this is a 1.7. But let's look at this here on the eastern side of the Strait of Gibraltar. Here's the Strait of Gibraltar right there. Look at these earthquakes here. We have had 5.0 large earthquakes here in this area here. It's at a fault line. It's at a fault line. Let's look at these earthquakes here. This is a 2.2 minor earthquake. This is also another 2.2 twin earthquake here, just east of the Strait of Gibraltar. Okay, this has been happening quite a bit. Like I said, about a year ago, we had a 5.0 large earthquake right here. And it's very likely it's going to happen again. Very likely it's going to happen again. Let's go over here to the Canary Islands. Okay, we haven't talked about La Palma Island in quite some time. There are 3 seismic events here on La Palma Island. Folks, this is the volcano on the island. Okay, this volcano erupted right here 2 years ago. Volcano erupted right here 2 years ago. Look at these earthquakes where they're at now. This is Brena Baja, Spain, Canary Islands, 1.6 tremor. This is a 1.8. Monte de Luna, La Palma Island, Spain, Canary Islands. Canary Islands belong to Spain. This is Los Llanos, Spain, Canary Islands. It's a 1.6. These are tremors here. Like I said 2 years ago, this volcano erupted right here. Okay? It erupted here and the lava made its way over here to the sea, over here to the Atlantic Ocean. Let me zoom in here. Okay? So you see what I mean. This is where the volcano erupted. Right here. The lava spread all the way out to the ocean here. Unreal. It also spread south as well. Los Llanos and quite a few other communities here were covered by lava. Quite a few communities were covered by lava here. Is this going to happen again? We don't know. Now, these are just minor tremors. When this volcano erupted before, we had tremors, and those tremors begat minor earthquakes, 2.0, 2.9, then came the 3.0, 3.9 earthquakes, and up to 5.0 earthquake all of a sudden. That's when the volcano erupted right here. This is the backbone of La Palma Island. This is the backbone of La Palma Island. This whole area is a volcano. This is the main volcano up here, but any part of this area could erupt just like it did 2 years ago. Okay, I want to make that very clear. Okay. This can very much happen again. Do we have any questions about the Canary Islands here? And Pickering says she lives in the northwest of the UK. You guys, I don't believe, will ever be affected by most of these earthquakes. Most of the earthquakes are over in France and Spain. Most of the earthquakes I've shown you already are both in France and Spain. Okay? Yes, they're over in Germany as well. Right there. Most of these are in Germany, Switzerland, France, and Spain here. Okay. Yes, we're having a great deal of earthquakes here in Italy. That's because we're going to have another major earthquake here very soon. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. We don't get this kind of seismic activity when it's just hitting and nothing happens. Usually when we get this kind of seismic activity, the seismic activity builds up and builds up until there's a very large earthquake happen. Okay, that's why we're seeing what we're seeing here. Okay, yes, we're seeing a great deal of earthquakes over here in the Aegean Sea here, right here. Okay, a lot of earthquakes. I want to welcome Sergey here. Sergey is a dear friend of mine, and also he is a mod on our channel. Sergey is a great guy. He really is. Do you guys have any questions of anything we said so far? Charlene is asking, is Atlantis under the Aegean Sea perhaps? I believe it might be. Okay, it's a long time since I studied about Atlantis, but I think there is. Kareem is asking, are there any tsunami warnings? No, there is not. There are no tsunami warnings for this area at all. And I need to say this too, okay? Now, the tsunamis will not happen unless there's a 6.5 or large earthquake. We're not going to have a tsunami unless there's at least a 6.5 or larger earthquake. So far, that has not happened. I've never seen a tsunami with less than that, ever. Carolyn Martin's here saying flights out of Greece are filled and expensive. I can imagine they are. Okay. The Aegean, I think it's called Aegean Air, has been flying a lot of flights out of Santorini in those areas, trying to pick up as many people that want to get out. And that's very wise. It's very wise. Now, Carolyn Martin's here in the chat. She's also a very dear friend of mine that I've known for over 20 years. She's awesome. She's awesome. Okay. Now, there are a few other things I want to talk about. Okay. Something happened in Sweden earlier this morning, actually this afternoon. At about 12:30 this afternoon, and now it's nighttime in Sweden. At a school, at a college in Örebro, Sweden, there was a shooting. At least 10 people are dead and 5 other people wounded in that shooting. It's a sad day to report shootings in Sweden. We never used, actually now the death toll has risen to 11. Apparently one of the people that was shot and in the hospital has now died. But 10 people died at the scene, and I guess one more died at the hospital today. It's very sad. In Sweden, it is very hard to get hold of a firearm. You have to have a license to carry a firearm. This person apparently had a license to carry a firearm. Okay? Very sad day in Sweden. Now, this was in a place called Örebro, Sweden. This Örebro, Sweden is about 125 miles west of Stockholm. 125 miles west of Stockholm. Now, very hard to get a hold of a firearm. This person had a firearm and also, like I said, had a license to carry it. He came into this school, and right now it's not known whether he was a student or not. But he fired on at least 15 people, 11 of which are dead. Okay? Now, some of my own family comes from Örebro. Some of my own family comes from Örebro. It's a very sad day. Okay? This never used to happen. When I lived in Sweden, none of this happened. This school was called Risbergska School. It was a college. The site of the attack is an adult educational institute, which sits on a larger campus, including other schools. It sits on the west side of Örebro. The city of Örebro used to be at about 25 to 30,000 people back in the mid-70s when I was there. Örebro is now a town of about 100,000 people. Örebro is the sixth largest city in Sweden. Okay? Sits around 200 kilometers or 125 miles west of Stockholm. Reports of this shooting reached police at about 12:30 p.m. when it started, which is about 11:44 GMT. Armed police arrived. They exchanged bullets with the suspect as students barricaded themselves in classrooms. This doesn't sound like it should happen in Sweden, but the United States, where it's happened frequently. The suspected perpetrator was later found with a gunshot wound. It's expected that he shot himself. 11 people were killed in the shooting as of tonight. At least 6 people were reported injured, with 5 being treated at the Örebro University Hospital. Detectives are still identifying the dead and cannot yet provide any firm details about any of the victims. Roberto Ide Forrest told a press conference to Swedish broadcaster SVT, Swedish broadcaster SVT Radio. Andreas Sundling, 28, was among those forced to barricade themselves inside the school. Andreas said, "We heard 3 bangs and then loud screams." That's what he told Express newspaper, the Express newspaper. It's called Expressen in Swedish. The students were sheltering in classrooms. One student that I had heard a report about told the newspaper and the British news people that she heard the shots ring out and there was literally screaming up and down the area. But the students in her classroom remained very silent as the shots were ringing out right outside her classroom. Maria Pegado, 54, was a teacher of the school. She said someone threw open the door to her classroom just after lunch break and shouted to everyone to get out. I took all my 15 students out in the hallway and we started running. She said, then I heard 2 shots that rang out. We made it outside and we were close to the school entrance. I saw people dragging the injured out, first one and then another. I realized it was very serious. Police in Sweden, in Örebro, are describing this incident as attempted murder, arson, and aggravated weapons offense. Arson because there was a small fire. Helicopters were dispatched to the area as part of the major response while the property was raided in Örebro. The suspect's apartment in Örebro was raided by the police. Now, this is just a random shooting. Police believe this was a random shooting in Örebro, Sweden. The danger is now over. Police say the suspect is among the ones that were killed in the school shooting and that he acted alone. At the moment, Police Chief Roberto Ide Forrest said, "We are confident that no more attacks will occur. The schools that were occupied have been evacuated. Detectives are not ruling out the possibility that multiple people were involved and the situation could change. It's fluid. The investigation just started." Police said that there was no suspected connections to terrorism at this point. Okay, again, I want to emphasize this. At this point, there's no terrorism expected. Police also were telling the press that the suspect was not previously known to the police. He had no criminal background at all. Now, in this initial response, Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson called it a painful day for Sweden, writing on Expressen, the newspaper, that his thoughts were with all those whose normal school day were replaced with terror. Being confined to a classroom with the fear of your own life is a nightmare that no one should have to experience. Speaking at a press conference, he hailed the courage of the first responders and those who were caught up in the heinous act, telling the victims, quote, "Your grief is our grief. We are here for you." Justice Minister Gunnar Strömmer called the shooting an event that shakes our entire society to its core. Police are being assisted by Swedish security forces in their search for answers. The Swedish military is also on call. In a statement, Swedish King Carl Gustaf, who I met back in the 70s, King Carl Gustaf the 16th praised police and the rescue and medical personnel who responded to the shooting and offered words of comfort to the families of the victims. "It's with sadness and dismay that my family and I have received the information about this terrible atrocity in Örebro. We send our condolences tonight to the families and the friends of those deceased. Our thoughts at this time also go to the injured and their relatives and families, as well as others that were affected by this heinous act." Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen expressed support to neighboring Sweden, calling Tuesday's shooting a terrible situation. He said, quote, "I am so sad and all my thoughts are with the victims and their families and the entire Swedish community and society." She said after a meeting with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London, It's a terrible situation, and of course, our neighboring countries have all of our support. It's a beautiful thing when the countries rally together, and that's what's happened. It's very unfortunate this would happen. Very unfortunate this would happen. Now I want to pull up a map here. I want to show you where Erbro is on the map. Okay, just a second here. Right here is Stockholm. Where you see this dot is Erbro. This is directly northwest from Stockholm. Approximately 125 miles or 200 kilometers northwest of Stockholm. I used to live here. I visited here. I visited with a great many of my relatives here. My relatives are from the Dupage family. My grandmother was Sarah Christina Davidson. She came from here in Erbro. When I visited here in 1975, she just passed away. When I was here, I went visiting some of my ancestors, I can't say ancestors, but current relatives that lived here. When I was over here in Erbro, I stood on an old family homestead on the foundation of the property. The concrete foundation was still there. It was surrounded by trees and a lot of weeds and such. I stood on the concrete foundation here in Erbro. This is where the shooting happened. Okay? Now, when I first arrived in Sweden, I was here in Stockholm. I got transferred here down to Trollhättan. I visited Göteborg many times right here in southwestern Sweden. Okay? Trollhättan was right here. Then I was transferred up here towards Stockholm to a town called Västerås. Okay? I was over here in Erbro as well. I then left to go here to North Stockholm. Then I was transferred up here to the north here. Okay? Then I ended up going up here to Umeå, Sweden, up here in the north, what they call Norrland. Norrland, Sweden is right here. Okay? I even went further north up here to the Arctic Circle right here. I made it up into the Arctic Circle right up here in the north part. Okay? I was literally all over Sweden, from southern Sweden up to northern Sweden. And I loved it there. The Swedish people are wonderful people. The Swedish people are wonderful people. And it's a very sad day that they had to experience a shooting that's more commonplace in America than over in Scandinavia. It's a very sad day over there. Okay? Now, there's something else I want to talk to you about. Last night, protesters from Palestine and protesters from Mexico were in Los Angeles, blocking the highway and blocking service streets in Los Angeles and northern LA. I want to play this broadcast for you coming from KTLA News in Los Angeles.
You mean prepaid the new contract? Mobile keeps it flexible. Good morning and welcome to the KTLA 540 News at 11 a.m. I'm Glenn Walker.
And I'm Lou Parker. Thanks for joining us this morning. We begin with breaking news. Protesters are rallying in downtown LA against President Trump's immigration policies.
Rich, break it above the sea to Sky 5. Rich?
Yeah, Glenn and Lou, you can see the march that is happening here in downtown. They're on Spring Street, making their way south along Spring Street from First, and we're seeing probably at least 100, if not more, people that are rallying and marching through the street, holding flags and signs. Some of those signs we can't even show you here on TV. But again, for right now, it just seems peaceful. They're not being escorted by LAPD. I'm sure whether or not this rally or protest has been permitted or authorized at this point, but they are marching away from any major freeways, which is good news considering what we saw yesterday. But this march just now underway. It started about 20 minutes ago, and it's making its way through downtown LA. Live at Sky 5, Rich Brickett. Send it back to you.
Okay, that was in Los Angeles today. The riot actually happened last night. Okay, Los Angeles police, Anaheim police, and other agencies were also involved. Okay, they also notified the highway patrol to assist them in rounding up the protesters. They called an unlawful assembly. Telling the protesters to disperse. At first, they didn't do it. That's when LAPD and California Highway Patrol and surrounding jurisdictions started moving them out. They came out on the public address system of the police cars telling the people to disperse. Then when the police officers started to move in, that's when they began running. And still the protesters are out there today, making a nuisance of themselves. Now, a lot of these people, I cannot tell whether they are actually immigrants or not. But last night they were holding Mexican flags, and they were also holding Palestinian flags. Interesting how that continues to happen. Palestinian immigrants are trouble causers. Okay? They've been marching against Washington, D.C. They've been marching against New York City, Chicago, and other major cities around this country. Again, they're marching here in Los Angeles last night. You saw Mexican flags there today. Okay? It's still a great, big, huge problem today. Today, they've not called for an unlawful assembly. As a reporter said from KTLA News, Channel 5 in Los Angeles, right now, they don't know whether the protest was sanctioned by the city, but it's there anyway. Okay? If you saw the last part of that broadcast from Sky 5 in LA, it showed one woman pushing a baby carriage, bringing her baby to a protest. How silly is that? What if the police decided to arrest her because she was in a place she wasn't supposed to be, or doing something she shouldn't have been doing? Then the baby would not have a mother either. They would have had to separate the mother from the baby. How stupid is that? I can't think anything more ridiculous than that. Okay? That's my opinion. Survey says 5 de Mayo, which is the 5th of May get wild. I agree. It could get wild. I hope it's not. I hope to shout it's not. It could be. We got a $10 super chat a little bit ago, and since then we've had another from Heidi Pedrick for $20. Heidi, thank you for that. I just gave you a EMA sticker and also a high five from that as well. Thank you so much for that, Heidi. God bless you. Appreciate that so much. Does anybody have any questions for me about anything we've been talking about? Everything's important. I want to make sure I answered all your questions. Renee, I guess, is going to have dental work done just like Rebecca did. I'm praying for you also, Renee. God bless you. God bless you. Yes, we want to pray for the victims in Los Angeles. I want to pray for the victims in Sweden as well. Jason Bender says, does Senator Ron Johnson know about this? I don't know. I don't know. And speaking of which, I want to talk about the plane crashes. First one I want to talk about is a plane crash in Philadelphia. Very sad. Very sad. I'm going to let you listen to a press conference from a couple hours ago.
All right, thank you for joining us today as we continue to provide daily information and updates on the status of the plane crash site, as well as services that we are providing. This continues to be an ongoing investigation, and the scene remains active. I'm Managing Director Adam Teal, and I'm joined here by a number of colleagues from city government. This is truly going to be a briefing and an update, so we are not going to recapitulate everything that has happened over the past several days. The biggest news right now is the NTSB has finished their work on site and either has left or they'll be leaving Philadelphia shortly. I have to say, just an incredible amount of teamwork with NTSB. You've heard us saying days to weeks for this investigation. That is still true, and we'll talk about that in a moment. The fact that we've been able to complete this on-site work, given the scale and scope of the scene, is a real testament to both the NTSB's professionalism and their expertise, as well as the partnerships with other federal agencies and all of the folks you see here. It really has been one team working together to process this crash site and help the NTSB get to the next phase of what will continue to be a long, thorough, and comprehensive investigation. For more information about the NTSB's investigation, we would offer folks to check out their website at NTSB.gov. They also have a number of social media accounts, and that really is the best way to understand what the NTSB is doing, beyond the fact that their work here in Philadelphia, just their work in Philadelphia, has concluded. Also ongoing is our forensics investigation, led by the Philadelphia Police Department with assistance from our medical examiner's office and a number of other partners. That work continues. That very difficult and laborious and important work continues. That is also, though, being moved off-site, so we can start to restore the area of this tragic incident back to activity. I won't say normalcy, because that is going to take much longer, but certainly allowing regular activities to take place throughout that area. So that's really a big deal. We've been able to move that forensic investigation offsite, and that NTSB is done here on the scene. So now we are at the point, really, we've been doing some of this as we've gone along, as we've had areas across this very large scene made ready for cleaning. Now we will have crews from a number of city agencies continuing to work overnight, from our streets department, our clean and green team, CLIP, a number of others, PennDOT, streets, on and on and on. We'll be working literally through the night to clean the streets, to ensure that we have done thorough damage assessment on all of the infrastructure, and all that infrastructure is currently operating. You've heard us say that before. So we really want to make sure that we're going to be able to, as daylight comes, hopefully start to get everybody back into that area. We don't necessarily anticipate that with first light we'll have all the businesses open. Hopefully that will happen at some time tomorrow, although that is still going to be a very dynamic process. We know that we still have residences and properties that have been damaged, that folks are not going to be able to go back to. And hopefully most of the residences that are undamaged or that have been cleared for reoccupancy will be able to be reoccupied soon. Still want to say this is a controlled area. So if you are not a resident or a business, or with a resident or working for a business, we really just want you to stay away from this area. We are going to continue to work around the clock, and by I say we, I really mean these folks and their teams that are down there on the ground are going to work around the clock to get everything restored. We're not quite there yet. We're getting closer and closer, much faster than we ever thought possible, thanks to the incredible teamwork across all of our interagency and intergovernmental, and frankly, our private sector and not-for-profit partnerships. Our L&I Emergency Services team, with assistance from the fire department, our Urban Search and Rescue Task Force, PPD's community outreach teams, our Department of Commerce teams, everybody has been in that area, continuing to go through the area, checking the structural integrity of all the properties, businesses, residences, etc. And they are continuing to secure and seal properties that are damaged. So that work also continues. We are working hard and going to continue to work hard so we can get things restored, and that will be very soon. I'm going to ask Director Morales, OEM Director Morales, to talk about the shelter status, the status of our shelter at Fells High School. And most importantly, I want to make sure that everybody knows about our community town hall that will take place Wednesday, tomorrow, February 5th at 7 p.m. at Souls Cone Elementary School. That's 7001 Horrocks Street in Philadelphia. There, the Parker administration will provide more information about the crash to residents, along with links to services and outreach tables for what folks might need in that area as we try to bring it back. And I know we will bring it back because we know this is a strong and resilient city. We know that our Northeast is strong and resilient as well. This is still going to be a long process. Director Morales, a brief note about the shelter status.
Thank you, Managing Director. Just one brief update and then one reminder. Working with our partners at the American Red Cross and the School District of Philadelphia and the Salvation Army, we're glad to announce that the 2 households that were being served at the Samuel Fells High School are being serviced another way, which allows us to close the shelter as of 6 p.m. tonight. And so services remain for anybody who has been impacted by this. Then contact 1-800-RED-CROSS. But we will not physically be at Samuel Fells High School as of 6 p.m. tonight, which is a good thing. It means we are entering kind of a more medium to long-term phase and able to really meet individuals' needs. The reminder is as updates about resources change, we have a lot of optimism about what could be back tomorrow. We encourage everyone to sign up for Recover PHL, the city's text message service. You can text RECOVER PHL to 888-777. We're pushing text messages to all of those subscribers daily and pointing them back to the city's blog, which is being kept live as well.
Okay, that's from Philadelphia. Now I want to talk about the plane crash in Washington, D.C. Most of you know that plane crash happened a week ago tomorrow night. We all know what happened. The plane crashed because a helicopter crashed into the plane. A Sikorsky Black Hawk helicopter from the Army flew right directly into the American Airlines plane. Now, there were some people that worked at Reagan National Airport. There's been an arrest in the investigation. A man working at Reagan National Airport has been arrested. He wasn't arrested for anything to do with the crash. However, he was arrested because he and his friends had taken cell phone video and released it to the news media before the authorities could do anything about it. So he has been arrested, but only for releasing the cell phone video of the crash. Okay? Now, I'm not going to show you that crash today. I showed you the crash video last week. I'm not going to show you again today. But again, there's been an arrest. Now, I'm going to talk about this. I think it's important to understand what happened. Okay? Let me put this device down so I can show you what happened. Okay? Okay, again, at Reagan International Airport, National Airport, there's a runway called Runway 1. Runway 1 was 5,000 feet long. That is the original runway that the American Airlines plane was going to be landing on. However, the air traffic controller said that they wanted the airliner to land on runway 33, which was a southeast to northwest running runway like this. Runway 1 is north and south. Runway 33 was from the southwest or southeast to the northwest like this. Now, the airliner was coming up from the south side of the river, the Potomac River, coming up there. It was destined, like I said, to land on runway 1. It was directly inside of runway 1. At the time, the air traffic controller said for the plane to take a banking right turn out to the east and then approach runway 33 from the southeast like this. Okay, the airline was running to the northeast like this, or northwest like this. Okay, the helicopter came from the north like this. Okay, you all saw the video. It was about a minute's long video. Okay, the helicopter came from the north like this. It went right directly into the aircraft. Directly to the right rear side of the aircraft like this. Now you've all seen the video. The airliner had on its landing lights. Great big huge spotlight on the nose of the front landing gear. Great big huge spotlight on the nose landing gear with landing lights on either wing. It was clearly visible. The helicopter went right directly into the side of the aircraft, like this. At no time, at no point, did the helicopter even try to get away from the plane. Air traffic control told it numerous times to evade the aircraft. Air traffic control told the helicopter, the Army helicopter, to avoid the aircraft. The helicopter ignored that. Now, like I said, the air traffic controller talked to the helicopter. At one point in time, the ATC controller told asked the helicopter, "Do you see the plane?" The answer was yes. Now, I said last week that the pilots of the helicopter had on night vision goggles. Okay. Now, I since found out that they did not have tunnel vision. They did not have tunnel vision like I'd previously been told. They could see all around themselves. If any of you have seen helicopters, the cockpit, the pilots can see out to the left or the right of the aircraft. They can see straight ahead. Okay? At no time did they deviate from trying to avoid that plane. They went and flew right directly into the side of the aircraft. Now, as I said the other day, aircraft 5342, American Airlines flight 5342 had at the last minute tried to climb out of the airspace that they were in. They were just over 400 feet above the runway, or from the river, I should say. The helicopter was supposed to be way down here. I should say like this. They were supposed to be 200 feet below the plane. They were not there. They flew directly into the side of the aircraft. At no time did the helicopter try to avoid the aircraft. No time. Now, there's something else you need to know about. Every one of the members of the helicopter team have been identified. every one of them. Miss Lobach, who is the main pilot of the helicopter, she had her family tell the government not to tell anybody about her daughter's name. They tried to keep her name out of the media. But during the weekend, they changed their mind and they allowed their daughter's name to come out. Now, yesterday's program, I showed you pictures of the daughter. I showed you pictures of what the aircraft went through. The approaching helicopter and the aircraft at 400 feet. The helicopter is not supposed to be at 400 feet, but 200 feet below. They were up above where they should have been. That was one violation. Two, they avoided conversation with ATC when ATC told them to avoid the aircraft. Okay? They pre-planned to hit that plane. That's where the investigation is now. Why did they plan to hit that plane? Why did they plan to hit that plane? It's unknown. But that's what the investigation's at right now. Now, there has been talk, like I said last night. Miss Lobach, 28 years old, had been a close aide to President Biden. Maybe she was pissed. Maybe she was emotionally distraught that Biden had lost the election and she wanted to make a statement. It's unknown. I'm not saying that. That is just one theory right now. Okay? That's just one theory. I showed you pictures of her with Biden on two different occasions. Once at a press briefing where they had families and they had people up on the stand where Biden was giving them the Medal of Freedom, the highest medal that any civilian can earn in the United States. Biden was there, and she was standing right beside Biden, assisting him with awarding these medals. Another time, Biden was in a group of people, including Miss Lobach. Okay? What I'm saying, there is some kind of association there. Was she distressed? It's unknown. Okay? But the helicopter drew in right directly into the airplane. It's a fact. It's a fact. Now, her parents are sharing a profound sense of loss for their daughter and the other victims of this crash. Okay? The parents of the Miss Lobach shared a profound sense of loss, not just for their daughter and the other crew members of the helicopter, but every victim of this terrible incident. Okay? As I would if it was my family as well. Okay? It should never have happened. Big Dog is here in the chat. Says, let me say, if I was a pilot, that would never happen. I agree. It should not have happened. But a lot of things are going on. A lot of things are going on. Something else that you also probably need to know about. President Trump has accomplished a great deal in the 2.5, 3 weeks since he's been president. A lot more than any other president in our lifetime has done. But in doing so, he's got a huge target on his back. He's got a huge target on his back. Christine Sikorsky is saying maybe the helicopter is remote controlled from elsewhere. We have no evidence of that at all, because there's aircraft transmission, or I shouldn't say aircraft, there are ATC transmission, air traffic control transmissions to the helicopter, where the pilot said that they saw the plane. Air traffic control told the helicopter to avoid the plane, and they obviously didn't do it. There's a problem. There's a problem. Heidi Petty says, I hope no one is going to blame the family for what the pilot did. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. Now, does anyone have any questions here? Okay, I'm just trying to relay information that I've been told to share with you, let you know what's going on. I think you deserve to know that. Now, today, they had a crane in the water. They had a crane on a barge in the water. They're going to attempt to lift the aircrafts out of the water, both the helicopter and the plane out of the water. Okay, they're preparing to do that right now. Now, 55 people, 55 people have been found. 55 people have been found, and about 20 of those have been identified by the coroner's office. Okay? Now, it's going to get a lot colder in the coming days. There's been a slight warm-up yesterday and today. By the way, I haven't been here for about almost 5 years now. At no time in January or even February has it ever been 70 degrees until today. Today, I think we may have even got into 75 degrees here in Morganton, North Carolina. Now, tomorrow, the temperature is going to drop. The temperature here in Morganton may get to 50 degrees and rain. There may be rain and or snow in Washington. As it goes north, the storm may drop snow or rain in Washington. The temperatures of the Potomac River in Washington are about 32 degrees. It's very cold. They've had divers in and out of the water. They have to take shifts in and out of the water because of the temperature of the water. It's ongoing. Okay? Until they lift those aircraft out of the water, the bodies will remain in the aircraft until they're found inside the aircraft. They've already combed the bottom floor of the river. Okay? Like I said, they've had divers in the river. They haven't seen any bodies on the bottom of the river. The river water there is about 7 feet deep. About 7 feet deep. Okay? But I believe either tonight or by tomorrow, they will lift the wreckage from the water, and I'll give you that information when it happens. Does anyone have any questions for me? Okay? I'm just trying to pass on pertinent information that you need to know. Okay? We talk about earthquakes, we talk about disasters, and all kinds of things going on, including preparedness. And this coming Friday, I'm hoping nothing else happens so we can talk about emergency preparedness. Fridays are nothing but emergency preparedness unless there's something major going on. Okay? ABCABO or ABQ says, earthquake and spelled it wrong. Your message has been taken down. My mods took your message down. You need to spell your messages right. I think that was purposeful. And please also do not use all caps. YouTube looks at that like yelling, and they do not allow it. And if YouTube moderators get here on this chat like they've done in past years, you could lose your ability to chat on anybody's program. So please don't do it. Please don't do it. Does anybody have any questions for me? ABC, we don't look at that as humor. It's not humorous at all. Theonis is asking what kind of disasters do you cover, news do you cover? Disaster awareness? Yes, absolutely. That's why we talked about the things we've talked about tonight. With the earthquakes over in the Volcanic Islands over in Greece, with the earthquakes in Italy, earthquakes over in Europe, absolutely. There's also earthquakes, and I might say this. In fact, let's go to the earthquake map again. There are some other earthquakes we need to talk about. Okay? So let's go over the earthquake map again. Okay? I only talked about those earthquakes over in Greece. Okay? There are a lot of other earthquakes, and USGS is not even showing these on their map, which is a sad state of affairs. When our own agency refuses to put up the information, it's a sad day. Okay? I talked about Europe earlier. So let's go over here to the Atlantic Ocean. Okay? Let's talk about this. Okay? First off, up here in Iceland, there's another earthquake there. This was a 2.2 earthquake. This was a 2.2 minor earthquake up here in Iceland. Let's zoom in here. Why am I zooming in? Because this is an area where we had a volcanic eruption just a few weeks ago. And I believe we're going to have another volcanic eruption here very soon. Okay. Yes, we talk about volcanic eruptions like we did a little bit earlier over in the Canary Islands. We do talk about volcanic eruptions, all kinds of disasters around the world. Now, folks, this earthquake is in, and they say it's 1 mile north of Krisavik. Okay? Krisavik is right here. It's just a very small town. Okay? This is also right here where we had a volcanic eruption right in this area. Okay? Why did we have this earthquake? Yes, it was a minor earthquake. Folks, let me do this. I want to show you this. And this is important. Okay? 2 years ago, we had earthquakes way down here in the south side of the peninsula here in Iceland. The volcanic eruptions continued headed north along this fault line. This is the North Mid-Atlantic Ridge. The North Mid-Atlantic Ridge. The magma is spreading, guys, and it's spreading. We've had volcanic eruption here. We've had volcanic eruptions here. We've had volcanic eruptions here. It's going to continue happening. This is a town called Grindavik. We had 2 volcanic eruptions here. One day, another right here, the second day. The magma came in here to Grindavik. Let me enlarge this map a little more. The lava from that eruption came over here and burned 2 houses. Burned 2 houses right here. Okay? Burned them to the ground. Since then, there have been more volcanic eruptions, 4 volcanic eruptions total right in this area here. Those are going to continue. Those are going to continue. This earthquake right here to the north, right here, is evidence that the magma is moving north. The magma is moving north underground. Okay? It forced its way to the above ground right in this area earlier. Okay? It's forcing its way through the rock here to get over here. I believe this was not a normal earthquake. This was not a normal earthquake. I believe this is magma induced. I believe this earthquake was magma induced. Okay? Now, let me reduce this here. So we talked about Iceland. That's important. But there's something else that you need to know here. Okay? Right here. This is the North Mid-Atlantic here. 2 earthquakes here today. two large earthquakes here today, right here. This is a 5.1 earthquake. Okay, a 5.1 earthquake that happened at approximately 1:21 p.m. Eastern Time today. Right here. This is also 5.1. So we've had two 5.1s, but the thing you need to know, this earthquake right here was a 5.3. This earthquake was a 5.3 here. Just like over near Santorini in Greece. That earthquake was also 5.3. They downgraded it. They downgraded this earthquake as well. I want that to be known. Okay? Now, what you see here in South America, look here. Yesterday we had 10 plus earthquakes here in northern Chile. Today we have 20 plus earthquakes right here. We have numerous earthquakes down here. Approximately 6 earthquakes here in central Chile. One of these earthquakes right here is at the border of Chile and Argentina, near San Juan province, Argentina. This is a 3.4 earthquake. Most of these earthquakes are either 3s or 4s. 3.0, 3.9 are considered to be small earthquakes. Anything above that, 4.0, 4.9 are considered to be moderate earthquakes causing moderate damage. Let's go north here, okay, right here. There's a fault line right here, and as you can see, there are plenty of earthquakes around that fault line. 20 plus earthquakes around that fault line. Look at this. 10 plus just right here. Okay, look at this. This is a 2.5. This is a 3.1. This is a 3.0. This is a 2.5. This is a 2.7. Then off the coast here. This is Antofagasta, Chile. This whole region here is Antofagasta, Chile. This is a 2.5 just off the coast of Punta Blanca, Chile. Okay, this is the 3.0 here. 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 earthquakes here. 16 earthquakes right here in northern Chile. Another one down here. This is a 4.1. Offshore Antofagasta, Chile. Like I said, we talked about these earthquakes here a few minutes ago. A lot of earthquakes, huh? Let's go north. Arequipa, Peru, 3.6. That's a 4.4 moderate earthquake there. Let's go north here in Peru. This is a 4.7, a mid-range 4. This is a very powerful moderate earthquake. Right here, this is another 4.0. Further north here, this is Tumbes, Peru, on the border of Ecuador. 3.7 and a 4.6 here. Up here in Ecuador, we don't have any reported earthquakes right here. Going north into Colombia, here's a 2.4 and also a 3.3 here and also a 2.9. A total of 30 earthquakes hit South America today. USGS isn't showing but a small part of those. A very small part. They're showing 3 earthquakes. They're showing 3 earthquakes. Sad. 30 plus earthquakes in South America and they show 3. Sad state of affairs. They're showing 1 earthquake in southern Mexico. 1 earthquake in southern Mexico. But what do we call these? What do we call these in Mexico? These are earthquakes. But USGS is still not talking about them. They're not talking about them. Let's go back over here. 1 earthquake here in southern Mexico and all these other earthquakes here. USGS is not doing its darn job. They're not doing their darn job. at all. Nothing. Nothing at all. I am asking, why not? Why not? Let's go over here into the central mid-Atlantic right here. Right there is another earthquake here, right between Africa and South America. This was a 5.1 earthquake. USGS downgraded to 4.9. 5.0 earthquake downgraded to a 4.9. Sad. How about these two earthquakes here? Two earthquakes here in the South Atlantic Ocean. This is also a 5.2 earthquake, downgraded to 4.9. How about this other earthquake here? The same thing, downgraded to a 4.9. Folks, let me back this up. Okay, want to show you the Mid-Atlantic Fault. What is going on here? The Mid-Atlantic Fault is coming apart, is expanding. The Mid-Atlantic Fault is expanding. It's pushing Africa and Europe to the east. It's pushing South America, Greenland, North America, Canada, and the U.S., and Mexico in a southwesterly direction here. The Mid-Atlantic Fault is expanding. That's why we see all these earthquakes here along the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Today, Canada, Quebec, Canada. This is a 1.94, 2.0 earthquake here near Quebec, Canada. Montmagny, Quebec, Canada. Now, I probably butchered that name, and I'm very sorry. Okay? I don't speak French. I don't. How about this earthquake here on the Pneumatic Fault here? Morrison, Missouri. This came out as a 2.0, and they downgraded to a 1.97. Morrison, Missouri is at right smack dab in the center of the Pneumatic Fault. The Pneumatic Fault is also popping up. USGS is not even telling you exactly what's going on here on the Pneumatic Fault. Folks, there are probably 300 earthquakes here on the Pneumatic Fault. USGS is only talking about one, and they downgraded that. There are earthquakes up and down the entire east coast of the U.S. and Canada. USGS is not talking about. They are tremors, they are minor earthquakes, and then 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes up and down the entire Atlantic coast. Okay, earthquakes, guys. Earthquakes here in Southern California and down here in New Mexico as well. Baja California here. Unreal, huh? Absolutely is. Now, I want to talk about some earthquakes down here. Okay, the South Pacific. The South Pacific. Tonga, right here. Two earthquakes here in Tonga. This was another 5.0. They downgraded this one to a 4.9. Okay, Hihi Tonga. Are they going to allow me to show you this earthquake here? This is a 4.6 moderate earthquake here. 5.9 near Hihi, and this one a 4.6. So we had a large and then a mid-range 4 here. Okay? Then we go down here south to the Volcanic Islands north of New Zealand. This is a 3.1 here. This is a 3.6 here. Then to the north up here is also 4.2. So we have two 3.6s and a 4.2 moderate earthquake here in the Kermadec Islands. The Kermadec Islands are only unoccupied humans. There are no occupation of humans on the Kermadec Islands. Only birds. Only birds. Down here in New Zealand, you can see all the earthquakes here. There are over 20 earthquakes here in New Zealand, both on the south side of the South Island and over here on the North Island as well. Earthquakes, guys, earthquakes. Let's go over here to Vanuatu. This is a 2.0 earthquake. They called it a 1.9 downgrade. This is a 2.4 minor earthquake here, also in Vanuatu. South here. This again is in the Loyalty Islands here. Loyalty Islands, we had an earthquake here. Today, they have a 3.2. Okay. Then, go further east, we have another large earthquake here. This is, I'm not even going to pronounce the name of this town here, East New Britain Province, Papua New Guinea. This is a 5.2 large earthquake here. A 5.2 large earthquake here. Look where it's at. It's right on the coast of this island. These islands here are sparsely populated. They're very sparsely populated. If there's anybody here along the coastline, they felt this earthquake. Now, I can't tell you if there's any communities here. There might be some very small communities here, if there's anything. It appears to be one small community here, and there may be another small community here. But given that, they felt this earthquake. This is a large earthquake along the coastline of Papua New Guinea here. New Britain, Papua New Guinea, large earthquake. Okay, this happens all the time, unfortunately. USGS is not showing it. Over here, further to the west. This is Sandaun Province, Papua New Guinea. And all of a sudden, I lost my map. I want to show you a bunch of other earthquakes here, but apparently I'm not going to get it back. Yes, I did. Yes, I did get it back. That's a 3 point, this is a 3.9 right here. Okay. Sandaun Province, Papua New Guinea. Further out west, Papua Indonesia here. This is a 3.5 here. Okay. Other earthquakes here in Indonesia, look at this. Earthquakes all over, huh? Does USGS show this? No. They absolutely do not. They're not showing anything like that. Let me show you what they're not showing right here. We showed you this earthquake in Papua, Indonesia here. Over here, they're calling this a 4.6 near Tuvalu, Indonesia. They're showing one earthquake here in Indonesia. Look at all these earthquakes here. This is typical of what I say the USGS is a lying agency. They're lying. By omission, they're lying to the public. Lying through their teeth. Up here in the Philippines. Right up here in the Philippines. Let's go up here. Okay. Over here, just off the east coast of Mindanao, Philippines, we have a 3.0 earthquake here. 3.3 earthquake here. Just to the north of there. Here's another 3.3 here. The northeast coast of Mindanao, Philippines right here, we have another 3. Look where these earthquakes are. Right along this Philippine earthquake fault here. It comes out of where? These earthquakes come out of Indonesia. All this earthquake activity comes up these earthquake faults. Comes up these earthquake faults and disperses out here. Okay? That's where they come from. Over here in eastern Philippines, western Philippines here, this is the 3.7. Over here on the eastern shores of Luzon, Philippines here, this is the 3.4. Further north here on the east side, or west side, this is the 3.1 here, Luzon, Philippines. Okay? Philippines are getting hit as well. Most of these earthquakes are 3s and 4s. There are no 2.0s, 2.5s at all. These are 3s, which are small, 4s, moderate earthquakes. all over Indonesia here. All over Indonesia. Now, what happens? What happens here? These earthquakes come out of Java, Indonesia here, up here to Sumatra, Indonesia here, and then what happens? The seismic energy travels. These are 4s right here. These are 4.2, 4.3 earthquakes right here. The seismic energy goes north right up here. Look what these earthquakes do up here. Let's show you that. This is a 2.4 earthquake here. This is a 2.3 here. This is Myanmar, otherwise known as Burma. They changed the name several years ago to Myanmar. It's formerly called Burma. Formerly called Burma. This is the edge of the plate here. This is the edge of the plate here. Seismic energy goes north here. Okay? We get rid of this earthquake here. We get rid of this earthquake here. Then the edge of the plate goes over here. This is the Himalaya Mountains. The Himalaya Mountains skirting Nepal, India, and China here. This is why we have earthquakes here. These earthquakes here. This is a 3.2. Right next to it is a 3.6. Right next to that is a 4.5. Moderate earthquake there. Small earthquakes and moderate earthquake here. Mid-range 4. Okay. Then we have another large earthquake here. Okay. This is China. Zhejiang, China. This is a 5.3 large earthquake here. Then we drop over here. Okay. What do we have here? I want to show you. This is in China, and right here, this is another large 4 point. They say this is a 4.9. If you ever come to anything 0.9, always think of that earthquake as larger, because it is. They have the 0.9 society is alive and well with USGS. They downgrade everything. This is another large 5.0 earthquake here. But here, I want to concentrate right here. Afghanistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan. Right here. Tajikistan here, 3.2. Now, folks, this is Afghanistan. This is a 3.0 earthquake right here. Pakistan here, 3.3 here. Afghanistan, a 3.6. Folks, we have 3s, mid-range 3s here in Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Okay? All these earthquakes come out of the Himalaya Mountains and go over here. That's why we have these earthquakes here. And you see what happens here. The plate continues over here, but we also have a small plate right here. Okay? This is Iran. You see the earthquake fault here. This is Iran. Right here. That is southern Iran. Okay? That's a mid-range 3.7. Then we come over here. There's multiple earthquakes here in Iran. Okay? This is another 4.7 earthquake. Moderate 4.7 earthquake. Right here next to it, a 3.2. Then right next to it, 3.2. Right here, another 3.2, and multiple earthquakes there as well. Okay? 3.2, 3.7, 3.2, 3.2, and 4.7. Southern Iran. The edge of the plate, guys, we have an earthquake fault here. That's why we get earthquakes here in southern Iran. We have 2 plates here. 2 different plates. Now that one plate that came out of the Himalaya Mountains comes through Afghanistan, Tajikistan area, goes up here into the Caspian Sea. You see it moving here. That's one side of the plate. Okay. Then we come up here. Okay. This is the Turkey-Syria border region right here. Turkey-Syria border region. What do we have here? Let's show you. Okay, this is Turkey here. 2.3, 2.0, 2.3, 2.0. All of these earthquakes here are in the Turkey-Syria border region. Why are we getting earthquakes here? All of these earthquakes are aftershocks. These are aftershocks of an earthquake here that hit here 2 years ago. This earthquake hit here 2 years ago. It was a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake right here. That 9.0, 10.0 earthquake killed over 5,000 people and injured over 5,000 more. It also opened up a huge fissure. It opened up a huge, deep fissure. The fissure was 8 stories deep. 8 stories deep to fit an 8-story building inside the fissure. It was 14 miles long. The fissure was 14 miles long. Earthquakes here in northern Turkey. Northern Turkey. Right here. 2.1. 2.3. That's a 2.1. 2.3. And another 2.0. Northern Turkey. Then we come down here. 1.5. This is the north coast of Turkey. Another 1.5. Down here to the southern coastal areas of Turkey. This is a 2.0. And that's a 2.3. Over here, this is the Western Mediterranean. This is Corsica. This is the island of Corsica. Down here, we have a 2.0 earthquake here. That fault line that ruptured up here 2 years ago, February 3rd, 2 years ago, 9.0, 10.0 quake comes down here. Okay, the fault line comes down here and goes south of Corsica. Then one part of the fault goes up here in eastern or western Turkey. That fault also extends down here south of Crete, Greece. Goes up here to the western side of Greece here. Goes up here. Then it comes down back here, over here to Sicily and Italy. Sicily and Italy. We talked about Sicily and Italy earlier. All these earthquakes in Greece right here. Okay? Folks, right here. Right here. This is ARTIC, Greece, 1.6 tremor. 1.7 tremor here. Pravis, Greece. This is the Aegean Sea here. This is the Aegean Sea. This is a 1.4 tremor. Right next to it here to the north is a 2.3. Right here, this is Olga. This is Olga, Greece, a 2.1. Now, with that said, this area right here, this is Patras, Greece. This here is Patras, Greece, right here. This is named after the Apostle Peter, right here. And you can see these other earthquakes here. Western side of Greece right here, we have a 1.9 tremor. However, over here on the western side islands, that's Pyrgos, Greece here. Okay? That was a 1.9 tremor. We go up here to the map here again. Go up to the map. Let's go over here. Hopefully to the islands here. Well, it's not going to let me show you the islands, I don't think. Well, maybe it will. This is 2.3. This is the Ionian Sea here in western Greece. Right just above it, well, the map's not going to let us show it, darn it. Yes, it will. This is Argostoli, 1.7 tremor. Right here to the south again is a 3.3. We have 1s and 2s and 3.3 earthquake here. Okay, this is typical. This is very typical. Greece gets hit all the time. I'm actually surprised we're not getting hit with more earthquakes here in Greece. Usually 1s, 2s, and 3s here in Greece, with an occasional 4 point something here in Greece. Okay, 1.0 to 1.9 are tremors. 2.0 to 2.9 are minor earthquakes, and 3.0 to 3.9 are small earthquakes. 4.0, 4.9 are moderate earthquakes. Moderate earthquakes. And you can see what is going on here near Santini and the islands over here in Argoli. Okay, here in the Dokanese Islands. Over 200 earthquakes. Just a few minutes ago, we had another 2.3 here in the area of Santini, here in the Aegean Sea. Do you guys have any more questions for me? Do you have any more questions for me? I wanted to make sure you could see what's going on because the USGS is not going to show it to us. They're just, I don't think they're even capable of showing us what's going on. Now, also, over in Alaska, just really quickly. I'm trying to move our map here over to Alaska so I can show you what's going on there. Over in the Aleutian Islands, okay, there's some earthquakes we need to talk about. Right there. This is the southern peninsula of Alaska here, okay? Southern peninsula of Alaska. Let me enlarge this map a little bit so you can see these earthquakes, okay? Southern, just to the north of the southern peninsula in the Baltic Sea here. Okay, this is the Fox Islands, Aleutian Islands. This is the 3.0 earthquake. But south of there, this is where we need to have very much importance shown here. We have a large earthquake here as well. Okay, large earthquake is right there. That's another 5.0 earthquake. Now, while there are no actual islands where this is at, this is still significant. This is in the Aleutian Island chain. The Aleutian Island chain. The Aleutian Island chain is right here. Okay? The islands are further to the north, but this is still the Aleutian Island chain here. Okay? There's a large 5.0 earthquake there. There's also 4.6. And another 4.6 right there, or 4.4. Okay? In the Aleutian Island chain. Right here. There are other earthquakes over in Alaska itself, and I'm just going to position this map so you can see them. For whatever reason, the map doesn't want to move. There we go. Look at all these earthquakes in southern Alaska. Right here, we have a volcano. These are just minor tremors here at this volcano. It's called Old Ililama Volcano here. Old Ililama Volcano. However, look at this cluster of earthquakes here. Guess what we have here? Mount Redoubt. Mount Redoubt volcano is right here. Okay? All these earthquakes are indicative of volcanic action at Mount Redoubt. Volcanic action happening at Mount Redoubt under the surface. Mount Redoubt is not erupting. Mount Redoubt is not erupting. However, there's a lot of earthquakes here that are showing magma near that volcano. Magma near that volcano. These earthquakes are just minor. Okay? That is at minus 0.71. Okay? I'm going to click on this earthquake again. There's a reason. Let's look at this earthquake here. Look at the depth of the earthquake. USGS has it labeled as a minus 0.71, meaning it's above sea level. Guess what? It's 1.1 miles deep. This earthquake is not above sea level at all. It's not above sea level at all, but it's in the volcanic chamber of Mount Redoubt. It's at the volcanic chamber of Mount Redoubt. Okay, you need to understand this. This is Alaska. Right here, guys, guess what? I want to show you what's going on here. .5 Nikiski, Alaska here. That's all fine and good. That's just great. Right here. Guess what? Major city in Alaska. This is Anchorage. No earthquakes anywhere near it, but south of there, that's a 1.8. This is a 1.5. Tremors. Tremors. Further west here, more tremors. 1.2 Beluga, 1.6 here. But again, Mount Redoubt is looking like it's getting ready to erupt. 10 plus earthquakes at Mount Redoubt. 10 plus earthquakes at Mount Redoubt. Okay? Then we come up here to Denali National Park. Guess what? Again, USGS is lying to us about the location of these earthquakes. This is Denali National Park. They're calling this 31 miles northwest of Petersville, Alaska. Petersville is way down here. This is Denali. They will never tell us the honest truth about what's happening up here in Denali National Park. Very rarely. This is a 2.0 earthquake here in Denali National Park. And in fact, this is over here on the northeast side of Mount McKinley. The northeast side of Mount McKinley right here, a 2.0 earthquake. 2.0 earthquake. Right here. This is 1.3 also in southeastern Denali National Park. Further north. Again, they're saying this is 41 miles north of Petersville. It's still in Denali National Park. They cannot get out of calling this Petersville. It's nowhere near Petersville, Alaska. It's nowhere near it. Denali National Park. Up here, look what they're saying here. This is outside Denali. This is way outside of Denali National Park. They're calling this Denali a 1.50 earthquake. Tremor. This is not east-southeast of Denali. This is northwest of Denali. Denali National Park is right here. This is northwest of Denali. Again, USGS cannot get their directions straight. Period. They're lying to the public. Absolutely lying to the public. Questions about anything we've talked about tonight? Does anybody have any questions about anything we talked about tonight? Bob Cox says, didn't realize they had that many sensors up there. They have sensors all over Alaska. They have seismographs all over Alaska. Literally, everywhere. Any questions? Any questions, guys? I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has. I'm trying to pay attention to the chat as well. Charlene Mayo says no question tonight. Great, Charlene. That's awesome. Demon Catman says reasons of not causing panic, political, or financial strife. Could be. But they're also not being honest. I believe everybody deserves the right to have the information. Everybody deserves the right to have the information, whether or not the government wants it to go out or not. That's why we're talking about it. People here have their lives in check. People in these areas we talked about tonight have their lives in check because of what's going on. I believe everybody has that right to have the information to save their own lives or save the lives of their family. That's why we're here. That's why we talk about this every day. Okay? That's why we're here. Now, guys, Popularian is talking about earthquakes common in Boston. One last week was a 3.8 in Boston. Small earthquake in Boston. Well, guess what? How many of you knew that there was a volcano in Boston? Does anybody here in the chat know that there is a volcano in Boston? 2 years ago, there was a 5.0 in Boston, a large 5.0 earthquake in Boston. Well, guess what? At that point in time, they found out in Boston, there's a volcano. And guess what? The epicenter of that earthquake was at the volcano. And I saw pictures of it. There's lava there. There's hardened lava rock there. It's very possible that 3.8 earthquake was at the Boston volcano. Okay? Hello, Germany. It's good to see you here. Thank you for being here. You guys have a question about Oregon? Go ahead and Joe, do you have a question about Oregon? Renee Seppi says there are several earthquakes in Virginia. Yes, there are. Quite a few, actually, in fact. Quite a few. Surgery is asking thoughts on when Oregon may pop? Any day. Any day. Earthquakes all over Oregon and nobody's talking about them. I can show you seismograms, which are the graphs that come from the seismograph. The seismograms show earthquakes up and down, north to south, all over Oregon. And yet, the agency won't talk about it. The agency does not want anybody to know about it. Incredible. Our own agency. And Joe Shinbaugh is asking about the undersea volcano off the coast of Oregon. Yes, it looks like it's getting ready to erupt. There are quite a few earthquakes around that volcano. It's called an undersea mount volcano off the coast of Oregon. It's about 200 miles off the coast of Oregon. They said that nobody will be affected when that volcano erupts. However, I want to remind you that volcano, if the lava goes up and above the water, there will be ash in the water and also in the air. There will be sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide plumes coming from that volcano in the water and in the air. However, if there's ash, if that volcanic eruption goes above the water, there will be ash coming up with that plume. As that plume rises in the atmosphere, that plume will go east. The wind will blow it east over populated areas of Oregon. That's going to happen. But right now, USGS is not even talking about it. I even saw an article the other day that said that there would be no public notification, nor would there be any danger to the public in Oregon. I'm just putting it up there for you. Okay? It could happen. It's happened before. Okay? Charlene Mayo saying silicone glass will be in the air? Possibly. Good question, Charlene. When there's volcanic ash in the atmosphere, after a volcanic eruption, some of that volcanic ash, depending on how fast it cools, turns into glass fibers. Okay? It's called Pele hair. The ash, as it rises out and the ash cools, it could turn into Pele's hair. And if somebody inhales it or gets it on their skin, it could tear up their skin. Highly acidic and also very dangerous. If someone inhales it, then it goes down into the respiratory tract and can cause all kinds of problems, including death. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that is what's happened over in Hawaii. It's happened in Hawaii many times. Even when Kilauea erupted back in 2018. Okay? Just like Mount St. Helens, Joe says, absolutely right. Tyler Ladd is here in the chat saying, Linda, USBS, exactly right. USBS. They don't want to give you information because they don't want to arouse anybody. Why? Because USBS is told by the politicians not to say anything. The politicians want to stay employed. If people move out of the area where there's an earthquake or volcanic event going to happen, then the politicians won't be employed. As long as there are people living in that area paying taxes, then the politicians are employed. The problem is the politicians and the management of USBS. Politicians telling USBS not to talk about it, not to even post the information. You have to go digging for it. And I dig for it every day that I talk to you. We've talked about this many times in the past. Trish Killian is here. Thank you, Trish, for being here. We appreciate it. God bless you. God bless you. Trish and her husband sent us a card the other day. I don't know whether you've been in here after we got the card, Trish, but Carol and I want to thank you for that donation to us and that beautiful card we showed here the other day. Thank you, Trish, for that. God bless you. God bless you. We appreciate cards and letters, guys. For those of you that did not hear me talk about it, we have a mailing address here that's 104 North Green Street. 104 North Green Street, box 105. Morganton, North Carolina. Morganton, North Carolina. Zip code here is 28655. You can also give us donations to our PayPal and to our Venmo locations, and those are in the program description just below this video today. You'll see our address there. You'll see our mailing address and our Gmail address, as well as the PayPal and Venmo locations where you can send donations as well. We appreciate cards and letters, and in those cards and letters, you can insert money or checks in there to help us keep this program in the air, which we would greatly appreciate. We haven't had a card and letter since Trish and Rich sent us that card we got last week. We get very few cards and letters at all, but we appreciate those that we get. Carol loves the cards and letters. Carol gets a kick out of them. I love them. I really do. I appreciate it. As Don Patoka said here in the chat just a moment ago, if you can't sleep, don't count sheep. Talk to the shepherd. I absolutely agree. Folks, just a few minutes ago in the chat, someone mentioned a scripture, which is one of my favorite scriptures in John. John chapter 14, verse 6. Now, I want to go before that, okay? I need to prepare you a little bit about this scripture. Thomas saith unto him, Lord, we know not whither thou goest, and how can we know the way? In verse 6, Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the light. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. No man cometh to the Father but through Jesus Christ. In verse 7, this further clarifies it. If ye had known me, ye should have known my Father also. And from henceforth ye know him and have seen him. This is a specific description by John the Apostle. Beautiful, huh? I totally agree. Now, Dr. Jamin's place has gone into Peter. Let's go over to Peter here as well. I have no problem with that. Peter chapter 3, verse 9. Not rendering evil for evil or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, knowing that ye are therefore called, that ye should inherit a blessing. Each one of us are here to inherit a blessing. Just through our lives being here is a blessing. Each one of us inherits a blessing every day that we're living. Folks, I want to tell you this. God loves you. God loves you. I want to pronounce a blessing on everybody here that's listening to this podcast tonight. I ask the Lord to bless you. I ask the Lord to heal you. Heal you that you can go forth to your families and those that care about you and you care about them. Go to them and also preach the gospel to them. Each one of us should be a minister. Each one of us should be a missionary, spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ to everyone. Everyone. I served a mission for my church way back in the 70s. Some people have been telling me throughout the years that I've never gotten off my mission. I've never left the mission field. It's true. I am continuing to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ today. I believe in Jesus Christ. I worship Jesus Christ. I love Jesus Christ. He is our Savior, He is our Redeemer, and He is our King. I love Him very much. I ask the Lord's finest blessings to be upon each one of you. God be with you this day and always. God be with you until we can meet again. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow night. Same thing applies tomorrow morning. If something happens, we'll be back on the air as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow night, sometime after 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a good night, everybody. Much love. Have a great night. Good night.